Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more details videos. Coco Gauff dealt a wildcard gamble after Wimbledon lost tests, Hardcourt resort. Just 5 weeks ago, Coco Gauff was holding up the French Open trophy, her second Grand Slam title secured after outlasting Aryna Sabalenka in a gritty final on the clay of Roland Garros. Then she was out of Wimbledon in the first round, stunned by unseeded Ukrainian Diana Yastremska in a match that spiraled from tense to lopsided, 7-6, 3, 6-1 on number 1 court. And though she holds the number 2 spot in the WTA rankings, hanging on through the hardcourt swing will be a serious test. Let's find out more. Gauff has become just the third woman in the Open era to follow a French Open title with a first-round loss at Wimbledon. Her defeat wasn't a mystery of margins. It was a statistical unraveling. The number 2 seed finished with just 6 winners against 29 unforced errors, including 9 double faults. For all her firepower and foot speed, Wimbledon remains her trickiest stage. Since her star-making run in 2019 as a 15-year-old phenom who beat Venus Williams, she hasn't made it past the 4th round. She's now exited in the first round twice in the last 3 years. Even with her second slam in the bag, Gauff's path forward is no cruise. She's defending 3,060 points through the rest of the season, which is roughly 40% of her current total of 7,669. That makes the remainder of her season a tightrope walk. Now, she's drawn a metaphorical wild card. Will Gauff play it boldly on the hard courts ahead or be forced to fold under pressure? And Iga Swiatek, after a historic Wimbledon win over Gauff's compatriot Amanda Anisimova, 6-0, 6-0, is gaining ground fast. The poll has rocketed from number 8 to number 3 with 6,813 points and is defending just 830 the rest of the year. If Gauff stumbles again, the gap could vanish quickly. For Gauff, the calendar resets with a familiar rhythm. She is likely to return to the City Open in D.C. later this month. Then it's on to Canada and Cincinnati before the big one she might have circled in her calendar, the U.S. Open. Luckily for the 2-time Grand Slam champion, the North American hardcourt swing offers breathing room. She lost early last year at the Masters events and in New York, meaning she has fewer points to defend there. Her bigger weight comes later. Titles in Beijing and the WTA Finals, 2,300 combined, and a semifinal run in Wuhan. Sabalenka, meanwhile, remains in the lead with 12,420 points, but she's carrying the heaviest load of defending 5,025 points through the rest of the season. If all points were to drop, Sabalenka would still lead with 7,395, followed by Swiatek at 5,983 and Gauff at 4,609. That gives the Belarusian a solid 1,412-point cushion, making her the clear favorite to finish as year-end number 1. The real battle will be for the second spot. But Gauff has a knack for bouncing back. After Wimbledon's stumble, Coco Gauff eyes hardcourt redemption. When Coco Gauff lost in the first round at Wimbledon in 2023 to Sofia Kenin, it sparked a major shift. Gauff overhauled her team, bringing in veteran coach Brad Gilbert, and within just 2 months, she was lifting her first Grand Slam trophy at the U.S. Open. And the next year, there was another reset. After a 4th-round exit to Emma Navarro at the U.S. Open in 2024, the 21-year-old made another bold move. She parted ways with Gilbert and hired coach Matt Daly. Under his guidance, she retooled her serve with a new grip and started leaning into her forehand, choosing to attack rather than retreat. The result has been some of the most confident, aggressive tennis of her career. This year, the loss isn't being met with panic either. "I'm not going to dwell on this too long because I want to do well at the U.S. Open," she said. "Maybe losing here first round isn't the worst thing in the world because I have time to reset." There's no doubt Gauff will do just that. She's made a habit of turning heartbreak into momentum. It had been only 3 days since Coco Gauff's tough exit from the Wimbledon quarterfinals, an unexpectedly early curtain call for the U.S. sensation whose meteoric rise had dazzled the lawns of SW19 just a year ago. A flurry of press conferences, heartfelt tweets, and a shower of supportive messages trailed her like petals in a storm. Yet beyond the comforting words and trending hashtags, something in Coco stirred. Something unfinished. The sun wasn't even fully up when her phone vibrated on the bedside table in her Florida home. A notification. U.S. Hardcourt Resort Invitational. Wild card entry confirmed. The message came from a little-known tournament nestled deep in the Arizona desert. The Mojave Ace Resort Classic. Gauff's brow furrowed. She hadn't even applied. The invite was unorthodox, almost theatrical in timing. A text followed. Heard you might need some chaos. Come and make it yours. M. She smirked. M. It had to be Michelle Andrews, the eccentric director of the Hardcourt Resort Invitational. A former tennis prodigy turned renegade organizer, Michelle was known for curating events with a flair for drama, spectacle, and reinvention. Her tournaments weren't about points or prestige. They were about storylines, redemption arcs, underdog swerves, emotional symphonies played out in neon and sweat. Coco thought for a moment, was this the gamble she needed, or a distraction from healing? But healing never came easy when you were expected to rise again by next Monday. Chapter 1. Into the Furnace. The Mojave Resort was not your standard tennis venue. The courts shimmered under golden sunbursts, surrounded by sandstone cliffs, and an audience in beach chairs sipping kombucha and clapping with enthusiasm, usually reserved for music festivals. The tournament didn't seed players, it shuffled them. It didn't have ball kids. It had volunteer artists in tie-dye. And it didn't play by the WTA's cautious rules. It played by the desert's. Coco arrived wearing her Nike tracksuit, incognito beneath shades. But everyone knew. The murmurs followed her like waves against a cliff. Is that? No way. Gauff, she's really here. Michelle greeted her with a sly grin, a deck of playing cards in her palm. Welcome to the furnace, Coco. Care to draw your fate? Gauff raised an eyebrow. You're really doing the wild card literally? Always, Michelle winked. Pick one. Determines your first opponent, court conditions, and maybe a plot twist. Coco pulled a card, Queen of Spades. Michelle laughed. Ah, you just picked a night match, elevated court, no audience noise restrictions, and your opponent will be Roxy Luna. Coco's face lit up with mild recognition. The Australian rock star/tennis influencer? One and the same. She's got a killer forehand and a crowd the size of a Taylor Swift tour. Have fun. Chapter 2. Racket and Rhythm. Night matches in the Mojave weren't like anywhere else. The temperature dropped, but the heat remained, glowing beneath purple skies and desert winds. The court was lit by LED strips instead of stadium lights, and music pulsed between points. Coco faced Roxy Luna beneath the surreal skyline, the glittering desert turning their silhouettes into goddesses of the game. Roxy wore lightning bolt-face paint. Coco wore her focus. The match was a three-set classic. Power versus poise. Entertainment versus execution. At 1-1 in sets, Coco found herself trailing 3-4 in the third. Roxy's theatrics were riling up the crowd. Fire dancers performed during changeovers. Chants echoed. But Coco wasn't distracted. She was transformed. She adjusted. She adapted. She ascended. With precise returns, clever lobs, and a reinvigorated serve, she clawed back to win 7-5 in the decider. Cheers exploded. Roxy hugged her, whispering, "You're the storm they weren't ready for." Coco finally smiled like Wimbledon never happened. Chapter 3. The Gambler's Path. Michelle wasn't done. "That queen card," she said backstage, "means you'll face 2 more gambles. First, a match at dawn, court covered in dew, against a 16-year-old prodigy from South Korea nicknamed Phantom Lee. Second, a doubles challenge with a mystery partner. Coco was hesitant. "I came to work on my singles game." Michelle simply said, "Trust the chaos. It's how you shake the ghosts." The dawn match was surreal. Mist drifted across the net like smoke. Phantom Lee's game was ethereal, soft hands, sudden aggression, and movement like shadow. But Coco dug deep into her roots, defense, instinct, power. The match ended in a whisper of a passing shot that clipped the line. Coco knelt, not from exhaustion, but clarity. The doubt she carried from Wimbledon was no longer inside her. It had evaporated like dew. Chapter 4: Unlikely Allies. For the doubles wild card, Michelle handed her a card again. Draw your partner. Coco pulled the joker. Michelle grinned wickedly. That means the audience chooses. Twitter exploded. Fans voted overwhelmingly for one name, Amanda Anisimova. The same Amanda whom Coco had consoled at Wimbledon after a brutal final against Iga Swiatek. They hadn't spoken since. The reunion was awkward, quiet, tense. Amanda broke the silence. You didn't have to hug me, but I'm glad you did. Coco replied, you didn't have to agree to this, but I'm glad you did. Their match was against the #1 seeds, Brazilian flair and Czech consistency. On paper, Coco and Amanda were incompatible. In motion, they were electric. Amanda's raw aggression fused with Coco's court IQ made magic. They lost the first set, won the second in a tiebreak, and clinched the match in a super tiebreak. 10-8. When the final point was over, they collapsed laughing. Chapter 5: Wildcard Final. The final came on a Sunday under red-tinged skies. Coco would face Bianca Carreño, a fiery Spaniard with a two-handed forehand and no filter. Carreño had made headlines for calling the wild card event a tennis circus. But Coco was no longer a visitor in this circus. She was its queen. The match felt like a Broadway show and a prize fight. Long rallies, screams of effort, drop shots that turned to daggers. Bianca broke early. Coco broke back. In the third set, Coco dug into a part of herself that hadn't awakened since the U.S. Open last year. The girl who played with joy. The woman who fought with purpose. She won 6-3 in the third. Epilogue: Desert Lessons. On the final night, Coco walked alone to the edge of the cliffside where the court lights couldn't reach. She looked up at the sky, star-drenched, infinite. Michelle joined her. Not bad for a gamble, huh? Coco nodded. This wasn't about bouncing back. It was about finding why I play again. Michelle handed her a final card. Ace of Hearts. For love of the game, Michelle said. Keep it. Coco took the card, slipped it into her bag. Her racket had a new rhythm now. The hardcourt season loomed ahead, but the weight she'd carried since Wimbledon? Gone. Sometimes, it wasn't the titles that restored you. Sometimes, it was the wilderness. And a wild card.